Welcome back, Irish fans, to Breaking Down Braves Boys podcast. Finally got Jake back. It's been a while. The last time we talked was we had Langston Wirtz on ACC tournament time. We know what happened right after that episode, so hopefully something equally as bad does not happen after we finish filming this episode. It's hard to see that, though. But today we're just going to be going over the loss of Nik Djogo and Juwan Durham. It's a relatively small loss for Notre Dame, but there are some things that are concerning, and we'll get into those later. Just going to go over their kind of last year. Durham had 10.7 points per game, 5.5 boards, a little under 2 assists, a little under 2 blocks, and he shot 60% from the field. Really turned into kind of a safety blanket for Notre Dame towards the end of the year, but there were some massive deficiencies in his game that cost Notre Dame, specifically on the boards and in some other areas too. Nik Djogo never quite blossomed into a starter like some people thought he would. Finished his final year with 5 points per game, 3 rebounds, and 53% from the field. He'll finish his college career next year at Northeastern with Chris Doherty, the dynamic duo that played in one game or 2 games together. So I guess we'll get into the loss first. So, Jake, what do you think Notre Dame is losing most in both of them? Like one thing that you think it's going to be somewhat hard to replace with each?
Well, I think with Durham, you're really missing that defensive presence inside. We'll see how much Atkinson can do with that. I think you're definitely missing that. You're also missing an efficient score. Oh, well, I guess I was only supposed to say one. But, yeah, you're missing that, really. I think that's a big one. So it's a big test for both Nate to improve and Atkinson to adjust to the ACC play to make up for that in that area. Djogo, you're missing a guy who did everything. You really are. I think he shot the lights out. We finally heard about how he would shot the lights out in practice. He finally did in games. That was great. He could pass, he could defend, he could rebound. So if you're really looking, obviously the replacement for Durham is Atkinson. So who are you looking for? Somebody incoming that can do that on the roster next year? You're probably looking at Blake Wesley. I know he's a little smaller, but Bray calls him both guards. So I think you're really looking at them for that. So I think that's what you lose in Djogo. I think you also lose in leaders in both. That goes without saying, obviously. But I think, yeah, that's what you lose in them.
Yeah, for Durham, I had the shot blocking for sure. Talked about this in the Atkinson video, but Durham would get back down somewhat easily by guys like Manny Bates or Armando Bacot or Walker Kessler, but he'd make up for it because he'd block the shot. Atkinson is not going to get pushed around as much, but he's not going to block the shots like Durham did. For Djogo, I had leadership, like you said. I remember after that, or it was before the FSU game, Djogo kind of rallied the troops and got him to play really hard for Bray, and we saw what happened in that game. And then the other thing, defensive versatility. He could guard anybody on the floor and do it well. Probably the best defender on the team. Cormac was the only one who was really close. Well, I guess best perimeter defender. Durham was also one of the better defenders on the team just because of the shot blocking. But I really liked what Djogo provided. He also gave this team a little bit of toughness, which they lacked. Played through an ankle injury for about a month that I don't think he should have been playing through, really. But he just wanted to be on the floor because he saw how bad they were without him in the Detroit Mercy game. But that's kind of what I have for the biggest worry with each. How would you recap each of their careers at Notre Dame?
I think they were as a whole. They had solid careers. I mean, Durham went to the. I think both have good for first years in terms of team success. Was a red shirt. Durham played in the tournament for UConn. He came here. He was solid. He was a kind of a 2 to 3 year starter, kind of played a big role in each of the teams he played on. I think he was always one of the best defensive players in ACC. I think that's something really to be lauded for. I mean, he did really well with that. I mean, I think he finished. Where did he finish on the blocks list? It was near the top. I know they were counting down if you get to the record. I'm not sure if I don't think he reached it, but I know he got close. And then Djogo was an excellent part of the team, I think, especially last year. He was vital to them. They needed him down the stretch because they didn't they couldn't pick up the bench minutes, and he had to do that. I think he was a very good leader too. I think to be the first Canadian player at Notre Dame is pretty, I would guess, pretty cool. And his career isn't over, so I guess we can't really recap that because he's going to Northeastern.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, Djogo, I don't necessarily know exactly what the expectations were when he committed because I was so young, but Djogo, I wouldn't say ever really blossomed. I think some people expected him to. I never personally expected him to really blossom. I thought this was a good scenario for him. I would say his career I would say it was like medium successful if you go on a scale. He never really blossomed, but he did play a valuable role. Unfortunately, it wasn't on a good team. And then with Durham, I feel like Durham was always that guy who was like he was like 1 year away from being 1 year away, and that's kind of unfortunate. He did have a good final year, but I mean the deficiencies in his game, like the rebounding, getting back down easily, and his limited offensive skill sets at times, kind of did him in at times, and gave Notre Dame a really tough time down low against teams like UNC or NC State. But do you agree that I wouldn't say their careers were super successful, but they definitely weren't huge disappointments?
I would say they were solid for sure. I think I look forward to seeing how Jogo can do at Northeastern. I think Durham was really an underrated player because, especially this season, he was one of their. I would say he was their second best player in that last season. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. I'd say I would
especially towards not so much towards the beginning, but he was really providing a good offense, good efficiency, in addition to his defense.
I'd honestly say my top three.
I think
my top three would probably be Hub, Laz, and Cormac. To be honest, just because Durham had so many like issues, I don't know. And Cormac was the most. Cormac and Hub were explosive scorers, and Nate had such a good start to the year. I have a hard time putting Durham ahead of them.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
All right. So I guess before we head into how they replace both these guys, I guess we'll go into kind of what we're expecting for their future. Durham, it hasn't been like confirmed in writing, I guess, but it seems like Durham will pursue an overseas career. And I think he definitely could because he's almost a 7-footer. And
I think John Rothstein said so.
All right, so yeah, I mean he kind of implied it, so I think we've all kind of picked up on that eventually. But there's always a need for guys like Durham overseas, and I'm sure he can find a role somewhere in Europe or somewhere else. And then Djogo at Northeastern, I feel like next year at Northeastern is the place that Djogo could really take the next step. Do you agree? Because I mean, like the competition's lower, he could be one of their main guys. So I think next year could be a huge year for Nik Djogo.
Yeah, I think it really could. I think, him in a league like that, if he could play pretty well in the ACC, he's going to be, you're looking at maybe a 15-point per game guy up in the, what is it called, the Patriot League?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. But I don't know about 15,
yeah.
But I'd say at least a double-digit score would be my expectation for Djogo.
Yeah.
Like 15 is another level. I'm definitely going to watch a few Northeastern games to see the Chris Doherty, Nik Djogo bench mob duo back, but actually on the court. That should definitely be fun. But heading into this impact for next season, we already talked about the loss, but do you think Notre Dame is well equipped to handle the loss of both these guys? And who do you think kind of
I think they are because I think they are because you're adding 4 new players to the team. You're adding Taylor, Carmi, hopefully you add, and then Blake and JR. I mean, I think and obviously you're adding Atkinson, but that's a 1-for-1 swap. So I think if they're more than prepared, I think you can add to the rotation. I don't think you lose anything by doing that. I think it's their deepest team that I can really remember. Maybe not the deepest, but this is the most scholarship players since the 2014-15 team. So I think they are well equipped to deal with it for sure.
Just the Alex Wade disrespect, we got to get that out. Forgot to add him. I know he's not on scholarship, but we got to throw Alex Wade's name in there. But
So let's say, well, we have 14 scholarship level players because Wade and Morgan are D1 level players.
yeah, for sure. And then lastly, I just wanted to ask. I remember you saying a while back that you were hoping that they'd find a way to bring Djogo back. You want to elaborate on that and why you thought that?
Well, I think I don't really know what they have really at the three spot with Sanders and JR. So I think it would calm a lot of uncertainty and bring more depth going into next season. Um, More certainty, but they can also go with more potential for younger players. So I think it's fine. But he would have improved the team. Um, Gotten he can do it all. He brings back those attributes. But I also love her.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think I'm on the other end of that. I thought it was time to move on, and I think Djogo's in a good situation. I've always been a guy that's like, I mean, we see this all the time in football. I've always been a guy that's like, let the young guys play. If the young guys are close to level as the older guys, I'm in favor of letting them just throw them out there and let them play. I know that didn't necessarily work out for the 2018 class, but I think typically experience is really valuable. So yeah, that's what I have. Any closing thoughts on the Jogo and Durham losses?
No, I mean I wish them best of luck elsewhere.
For sure. So that's all we got. Thank you guys for watching. Go Irish. And I have a recruiting video out for next week, so definitely look out for that. Thanks for watching. Go Irish. Peace.